morning. Trevor told me there was a new microphone, and there it is. My name is Jane Perkins. Our service leader today is Nikki Norman. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Saco in Biddeford. We also want to welcome those who are joining us on YouTube and encourage you at home to have a candle or chalice to light in a few moments when we light ours. Whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, we are glad you are here with us today. The theme for the month of October is deep listening. We invite you to carry that theme with you as you are here with us today and as you lead the sanctuary and go forth into your daily lives. We commit to be stewards of this land and to work toward a world that is just and thriving for the whole of the web of life. We invite you to take home the order of service for information and announcements, or you may leave it for recycling as you leave the sanctuary. Please silence your cell phones. There had been a plan to have a service telling us about safety plans. That has been postponed and will happen in a few weeks. There will be a social hour in the parish hall after the service. Please join us.
Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It calls us in the silence and through the noise and busyness of our daily lives. It calls us in the brightness of the day and the darkness of the night, in times of hope and despair. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It doesn't matter what you call it, for it has no name and has many different names. The Spirit of life, the Spirit of love, the Spirit of compassion, the Spirit of hope, the Spirit of justice. Listen, can you hear it? The Spirit is calling. It's calling to you and to me. It's calling us to greater service, greater wholeness, greater connection. Yes, greater love. It's calling us to heal the brokenness within ourselves, in others, and in the world. It's calling us to live more deeply. It's calling us to beauty. It's calling us to laugh and dance and sing. It's calling us to live through life's pain and sorrow. It's calling us to live courageously and kindly, to speak our truth in love and to bend the moral arc of the universe toward justice. It's calling us into community. It's calling us into the greater life of all. Listen, can you hear it? And now please join us as we light our chalice. This is our sacred promise, to gather together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to serve human need, so that all shall grow in harmony with the divine. And now please stand as you're willing and able and join us in hymn number 1007, one of my favorites. And before you sit down, I invite you to turn and greet your neighbor. Hi, neighbor. Sonia. Sonia.
This is the time in our service where we invite you to come forward and share what you may have in your heart, whether it be a sorrow or a joy. If you would like to tell us your name and share, light a candle, we would like that.
Good morning. My name is Sonia, and yesterday our good friends and longtime members Ann and Charles Wilkinson moved into their brand new handicap accessible home. Yes, and their kids, one set of kids was home cleaning the family house. The others were helping, we helped unload the dishes, and they're all settled in and make the beds. They're not all settled in.
Good morning, I'm Ellie. Yesterday was Yom Kippur, which is the Jewish high holiday, Day of Atonement. And even though I was brought up Jewish, I don't practice the faith. And however, I think of what's supposed to be going on that day. And part of it is asking for forgiveness for the things we do wrong. And so for anything I did wrong, forgive me. And to hopefully continue to do the good deeds that we do. And the other thing is called Yizkor, which is thinking about our loved ones who have passed. And so all of my loved ones were in my heart yesterday. My brother who just passed away this past year, and my sister who's been gone many, many years, my mother and father, and Bella and Bernard, who are just closest to my heart. But the good news is that one of my nieces asked me if I would teach her how to play mahjong. And we finally were able to get together yesterday and do this mahjong thing. And it was just like the perfect day to be doing it, because I felt like all my ancestors were in the room with us, teaching them all how to play. And we had such a good time.
I lit this candle for my friends David and Joe in Ohio. They've been partners for probably 15 or 20 years. And Joe is blind, and his partner Dave had a stroke earlier this year and has had to recently move into assisted living, probably permanently. So I light this candle thinking of them.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Patrick. I have a joy to share with you, and it's something that I don't usually do, but since I'm a member of this church, and I've been a member for almost 2 years now, I think. So this coming Tuesday, across the street, the Oasis Club, which is a clean and sober, I am celebrating my 36 years of sobriety at noontime. So if you're all welcome to have, come over and visit us, and, supposedly we'll have cake and coffee, and so I'll let my higher power deal with that one, but feel very happy about that. I just want to share this joy with this community. Thank you.
I'm Trevor. First off, I just want to promise everybody the sound will be better next week. I didn't have a chance to get everything just right. And also, I just ask for thoughts and prayers for my family and me. My uncle just passed a couple of weeks ago, and he was very beloved, a big part of our lives. And so we're just going through that right now.
Hi, I'm Lori, and I lit this candle for my mother-in-law, Cynthia. She just is amazing, this incredible woman, who was also my gym teacher and my cross-country coach. And I was very overweight and very clumsy, and somehow decided to go out for cross-country. And all she cared about was, did you get your personal best? And I felt part of something, and it just healed a part of my soul, which is just so powerful. And she's amazing. She moved from Arizona to come to Maine and had an apartment, was all excited, and then had a major health issue. And so she's now in hospice. She's lived with us this past week, and she's moving to assisted living tomorrow. And she's just graceful in saying, well, this is what is. I would be a puddle on the floor sobbing hysterically, and she's just moving forward with grace. So just prayers for this amazing woman.
Hi, I'm Pat. I have two joys to share today. One is my family, those of you who know my little guys and my daughter-in-law, my son-in-law moved to Florida, and they are in Sarasota, so they got the main hit of the storm, and we had several days of crying and prayer and whatever on Messenger with the family. And they left on Tuesday night, and they couldn't find a room, and they got to Tallahassee, and that homestead was full of the power guys that had come in from other states. One of them gave up their room. They called in a housekeeper, cleaned the room, and gave it to my family for 2 days. And then they drove home Thursday night. Their house is intact. Their electric was on. Their swimming pool is a mud hole. It's just a disaster. And that's the only major thing that happened to them, and I am so, so grateful. The other quick story I have to tell you is a couple of our members are moving, and I'm helping them sell some things on Facebook. And one of the things was 2 pair of brightly colored tennis shoes, sneakers. I mean brightly, red, orange, yellow, green, purple, just so bright. And I had them on there, and this lady called me at about 6:30 at night and said, "Could you meet me? I need those shoes for tomorrow." And I thought, it's dark. I don't meet after dark. I don't want you coming to my house because I don't know who you are. All right, I'll meet you in Moody's parking lot. Those of you who know me, I just lived up the road. So that's really public. So she said, okay, I'll be in a gray Jeep. Then I knew she was good. I drive a Jeep, so we're good. So I met her in front of Moody's in the parking lot. And she's about 30 years old, long blondish hair, just real nice, bubbly kind of person. And there were 2 pair of shoes. One was a 6 and one was a 7. And they'd never been worn. They were too small when they arrived. So she tried them on, and she took the size 7. That was fine. We said goodbye. She gave me the money. Off she went. When I got home, she emailed me or whatever. And she said, "I want the other pair." And I said, okay. And I said, but I'm not meeting tonight. How about tomorrow morning at 10 at Moody's? She said, okay. So I met her at Moody's again. And I said, you decided on the other pair? And she said, I work at Atlantic Heights helping take care of the patients, in the, what is it called? Who? Yes, and she said, every day I try to think of something to brighten their lives. And she said, these shoes are going to do it. And she had on a shirt that matched the shoes. I don't know how she did it, but it was all colors. And then she had those shoes on, and everything else was black. Black pants, black jacket. And she was just bubbling over. And all of a sudden, she came over and gave me a big hug. And she said, you have brightened so many people's lives today. And I just thought, what a wonderful, wonderful joy that we can share with one another.
Let's do it this way.
I'm Edith, and I lit a candle for my brother who's suffering from a really bad kind of dementia. So please give us in your hearts as I prepare to visit him next week.
Good morning. My name is Teague, and I am lighting a candle of joy and gratitude for a close friend of mine who has just become a part of my family, and my daughter and I are so close to her and her kids, and she, around once a month or a little less, she hosts a ladies' night, and all these moms get together and we either get a sitter or put our kids to bed, and we spend from about 8:30 at night until about 1 o'clock in the morning just having this amazing connective time for women and mothers to share kid-free time together, and it's just amazing. And it's been such a source of feeling grateful in my life, and I just love her and love all of them so much. And yeah, we got together last night, and I got to put my kid to bed and just have some me time with all of them, and it was really wonderful.
Hi, my name is Janine, and I'm blessed to have a camp at Highland Lake in Falmouth, and yesterday we had a gathering for September birthdays, a little late. I know it's October, but Nobody could come in September. And we had 4 September birthdays, my daughter, my sister's significant other, and my Aunt Carolyn, who's 92, and she made it. She made this beautiful dish to share with everybody, came in her own car. She's amazing. And we had such a wonderful family time. And it was so good to be together with everyone.
This final candle is for the joys and concerns that we don't share with one another out loud, but which we perhaps carry in our hearts. And if you take what you've heard today with you as you leave, that would be wonderful.
Let's turn inward now in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Sometimes the world outside can be so loud, making it hard to hear those voices we once knew so well, and voices that once knew us so well. And so to silence we turn to listen for the echoes of memories that make us whole, the pain of others that reawakens our hearts, and the beauty of this wildly generous world that wants us back. Friends, in the quiet of this space, let us not just listen for clarity and guidance, but to become larger. Those voices whispering from deep within are not just calling us home, they are home. We don't have conversations, we are our conversations. We must remember that who we listen to is who we become. What we listen for determines our path. Yes, sometimes the world outside us can be so loud, and so may the stillness we find here companion us and care for us, ensuring that we will never get lost. So be it. Amen. And since the theme today is about hearing, I've been learning a little bit of American Sign, and I wanted to share that this morning and maybe teach it to you folks at a later point. But I've asked Paul to go a little bit more slowly because I'm very new to this. So please join us in singing Spirit of Life.
Today's reading is If We Listen by the Reverend Darcy Lane. Listen. If we listen, we may hear the joys of the people around us. We may hear the concerns of our community. We may hear sorrow in a voice that breaks. We may hear a laugh hiding behind words. If we listen, we may hear the sounds of life around us. We may hear the creatures with whom we share these grounds. We may hear the engine hum of airplanes or cars, of strangers and neighbors traveling. We may hear the whistle of wind, the tumbling of leaves. If we listen, we may hear the sounds of the company of people. We may hear the coughing and sniffling of seasonal colds. We may hear the breathing of those nearby. We may hear the sigh of a body letting go. We may hear the wiggle of the restlessness of sitting, the shuffle of paper and purse and hymnal. If we listen, we may hear ourselves. We may hear our own joy and laughter and sorrow. We may hear our own humming and tumbling. We may hear our own breathing. We may hear our own longing. Listen.
And I know that we don't always acknowledge the choir after a piece, but that was absolutely gorgeous. Really, really beautiful, and thank you. Thank you. Deep listening. I knew it was important because when I started at Chime, I found out that there was going to be a lot of time spent on deep listening. Myra knows that, Trevor knows that. And it can be a little tricky. And I thank the Reverend Emily Gage for the inspiration for this sermon. I've used some of her words here, and I do want to acknowledge that, and many of my own. One of our parishioners here reminded me that I had used this sermon title at some point in the past, but I promise you this is a different service. This one's completely different. I love quiet. I love the spaciousness it creates, and I love the calm that it brings me. Moments of quiet and my daily walks, now that I have new knees, are helping me stay grounded these days. I find myself soaking in the silence, or rather, I listen to all that is going on around me. If I'm quiet, there's a lot to hear. Birdsong, the wind rustling the leaves, or my feet rustling the leaves at this time of year. Kids playing, the Amtrak train flying by, all sorts of things. Basically, what I'm hearing is life going on all around us. Sometimes I describe my life as a chaplain and a minister as listening to lives. And I don't mean just my ministry. I mean what we offer to each other here at the UUCSB. Part of what we do here is listen to each other as we live our lives, as part of our lives. We talk at coffee hour. We share during the worship service. We exchange anecdotes on our way to a Faith in Action event. We bear witness to rites of passage, and we participate in small group ministry. Sometimes we listen to one another as one of us grapples with a particular experience in one of our lives. Sometimes we listen to each other as we grapple on events that are affecting all of us. And the theme again for exploration in October is deep listening, not just listening, but deep listening. Important to note that not all listening is deep listening. Too often, as we listen, and I am definitely guilty of that, we're composing a response or contemplating how someone's experience might be like our own, or different than our own. Or we're framing another person's words in another way before we even know what they're going to say. And I'm guilty of that too sometimes. Deep listening has a different quality than just listening. In deep listening, we're as open as we can possibly be with no expectations of what we'll hear, no need to fix or change, no frames. And it is not easy. It takes discipline and it takes practice every day of my life. And when it's done right, it's a gift both to the listener and to the listenee. If you've had an experience of being deeply listened to, you'll know. A silence and a presence holds you as you talk. And it holds you long after you have stopped talking. And at Chime, we learned to call this holding space for deep listening. And I think that I've always understood the world best through stories. Story after story, we make meaning of the world, our lives, and the lives of other people. Are you familiar with the StoryCorps project? Anybody heard of StoryCorps? Yeah. It was launched in 2003 with a listening booth at Grand Central Station in New York City, my old hometown, with the simplest and most profound of ideas, inviting anyone who wished to come in and tell their story. The stories are recorded both for the people participating and for the Library of Congress, so that these stories are saved for the generations to come. Hundreds of thousands of stories have been recorded. I think that's just remarkable. All over the country from all kinds of people. You can go to into the booth at the Chicago Cultural Center and record. Or you can even record on your smartphone if you have the app. StoryCorps' mission is a radical mission, and it is to preserve and share humanity's stories in order to build connections between people. And here's a familiar line: create a more just and compassionate world. Dave Isay, the founder of the project, says this: what we do to increase hope and decrease fear of the others. To decrease fear of the others. He says, we'll continue to whisper truths in people's ears about who we are and what's important, and we'll continue until there are no more people that feel unheard. And in 2007, StoryCorps published its first book of stories and called it Listening is an Act of Love. Listening is an act of love. And I got to thinking about the way this act of love, of listening, shapes us and shapes how we understand the world. James Baldwin once wrote, "Love takes off the masks we fear we cannot live without, and know that we cannot live within." Let me read that again. Love takes off the masks we fear we cannot live without, and know that we can't live within. In my ministry and in my lifetime, I have listened deeply to some stories. I've heard some stories. Sometimes as a chaplain with the residents at St. Joseph's, I hear things that have never been shared out loud before. It's a profound honor to be in that position. We've all had secrets that we needed to share, and when we find space or place where we can be deeply listened to, it can change everything. I know it has in my life. Love takes off the masks that we fear that we cannot live without and know that we can't live within. It can happen over and over again in a space of deep listening. It felt like that when I came out to my conservative family as a liberal and a gay rights activist, which always kind of makes me grin, and it was a kind of a fun story. But it was a profound moment for me. Deep listening can free us to be who we are, and that's how I felt at that moment. And God knows we need more of that in the world. If we know that we're loved and accepted and affirmed by even just one other person, it can make all the difference in how and who we are. Because when we're free to be who we are, we find that we want that for everyone else. And who we listen to matters deeply as well. The struggle to acknowledge the need to center the voices of those who have historically been most marginalized has become more and more widespread. Centering these voices requires not just listening, but deep listening, because it may mean that we'll have to question our understanding of the way things are. If the system is built for you, then you might not want to hear how many challenges it creates for someone else. Might not have occurred to us that someone had to work 3 times as hard to get where we are, fighting expectations and monetary and systemic barriers all the way. Even if we want to see these things, we might not want to know really deep down that we're complicit in them. Deep listening can be hard, and it can be scary. A path to new responsibility and liberation is what it can provide us. James Baldwin also said, I imagine that one of the reasons people cling to their hates so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with pain. I hadn't thought of that, but I think there's something profound in that statement. And the same could be said of some ideas of the way things are. If we let go of them, we might be forced to deal with pain. I know that I'm making choices about how much news I take in these days because there's an unimaginable amount of pain and to witness and take in. But as the election draws closer, it feels more and more important to pay attention and work to make change. Action is the antidote to despair, and again, I know that from my own life. And James Baldwin again famously said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's faced." He was quite profound. Without deep listening, we can't change the world. There's a lot of divisiveness in our country these days, and there are lots of calls to put differences aside so that we can get along. And I do believe that all kinds of differences can be bridged by real deep listening. However, deep listening doesn't and shouldn't always change minds. Doesn't need to. Especially as UUs, we know the value of diversities of opinions and ideas, but there are limits. And sometimes, if you've tried and tried and tried, if there's a relationship that doesn't fully accept and value you for all you are, we can decide if we want or need to walk away. And that may require deep listening to ourselves. People ask me sometimes how it is that I became a minister, and when I tell the story, it sounds like I know where I was headed, and that was definitely not the case. Particularly, I went into Chime having no idea what would come at the end of it. And most of the time, I think we're in the midst of a story wondering what the ending or the next chapter will be. Right now, here in October, weeks away from another election that has called into question the very foundations of our democracy, we're waiting and wondering how these stories will turn out. It's still largely unknown what we will tell those who come after us and how we have made sense of all that has taken and will take place. And I like to think that there will be those who want to listen to what it was like to live through these times. My friends, I don't know how our story will turn out any more than you do, but I do know this. Listening is an act of love, and our stories matter. I know that we can listen deeply to one another with hearts and minds so wide open as to create a place to free each other from the masks that are holding us back. We can face painful truths and heal and turn our despair into action. We can make choices that are right choices for us. We know this because we've seen it happen. You and I know how to listen to lives, to whisper truths into people's ears about who we are and what's important, and what we will do that until there are no more people that feel unheard. We'll continue to build a more just and compassionate world, one interaction at a time, until we have dismantled all that needs to be dismantled and started anew. I love quiet. I love the calm and spaciousness it brings. But mostly, I love it because it allows me to listen deeply and all that is inside me and around me, and that allows me to connect and wonder and grow. May we open our hearts and minds to one another and the world. May we let ourselves be changed by the stories around us. May we listen deeply and be deeply listened to, and to be held in silence and love. Amen. Now let's just take about 3 minutes of just silence. Just sit and kind of listen to the silence. Listen to your own breathing without trying to control it. In the quiet of this space, let us not just listen for clarity and guidance, but to become larger. Sometimes the world outside us can be so loud, and so may the stillness we find here companion us and care for us, ensuring that we never get lost. Welcome back. Welcome back to this space. And this is the time in our service when we share not only our time and talent, we share our monetary gifts. If you're watching from home, I believe donations can be made. Is it a PayPal button, Trevor? There's a link to the PayPal, or checks can be mailed to 60 School Street in Saco, 04072. The ushers will wait upon you. Please be generous. And please join me as we extinguish the chalice. As we release this flame from its faithful service today, we allow the spark in each of us to burn on, to warm our compassion, to fire our delight, to light our paths today, tomorrow, and always. And please join us in singing hymn number 1018, Come and Go With Me. Great to see all that swaying going on out there. I love it. Go now in peace. Regard each other deeply and truly listen to each other. Speak what each of you must speak. Be ready in any moment to disarm your own heart and live as if a realm of love had begun. Go in peace, my friends. This concludes our service.